Marvel 2-in-1 issue 57 is the penultimate chapter of the Project Pegasus saga. The opening splash doesn't make any sense at all. Why are they all under a dome? Why is Giant Man remaining giant-sized? He most likely had to shrink to get into the door, so why did he make himself big again? Or did he crawl inside? Did they have to get a special chair for him to sit on? Is he even sitting on anything, or is he just squatting? The team is assembled to discuss the security issues Project Pegasus has faced over the last couple of weeks. Quasar runs through the list. Death Clock breaking in, Nucleo being released, the grapplers entering via an evacuation shaft. The team concludes that they must be up against an inside job. Quasar is assigned a team to double-check everybody's personal file for any discrepancies, and another team to look over the security footage to see if they can find anybody who is in the vicinity of each of the events. Ben offers to go and talk with Thundra and see if he can get any information out of her. Ben goes in to talk with Thundra, but she refuses to budge on her vow of silence. Ben hopes that at the very least, she'll tell him how Deathlock ties into everything, but she doesn't know anything about his involvement. Ben then goes all tough on her, letting her know that she's going to be facing federal charges for a break-in. What an asshole move. It was just a few months ago that Ben himself broke into Project Pegasus, and he was personally responsible for a lot more damage than Thundra, not to mention he hurt several of the staff. The only difference here is that he and Captain America stole a plane and left, and later Ben got Reed Richards to sweep everything under the rug. We switch over to the person that brought Ben crashing into Project Pegasus in the first place, Wundarr. He's been in a coma for the last couple months, and today he rises, the look of innocence wiped from his eyes. Wundarr opens the door to his room with ease and proceeds down the hallway, the lights and machinery around him dimming and going in and out with his passing. Wundarr's power, strengthened by the cosmic cube, now affects all forms of energy, including the bars across Solar's cell. Solar leaves his cell and without hesitation tries to kill Wundarr with a blast to the back. The blast comes up short and Solar wonders if his solar power might be on the fritz. Solar follows up with a physical attack, but his momentum is broken off and robbed of its kinetic energy before he can land a blow. Solar notices that Wundarr seems out of it and unaware of his surroundings, so he decides his energy would be better spent looking for somebody to help him escape. He passes Electro's cell, and from what he's heard about Electro fighting Spider-Man, he decides to request his assistance. I love this next set of panels because we seldom get to see the aftermath of a villain's mistakes. And here we have Electro in a full body cast from overcharging and having had a building fall on him. Electro would love to escape with Solar, but as Solar points out, Electro wouldn't be much help in his current condition. Meanwhile, our three heroes meet back up and Ben tells them he couldn't learn anything new. In a very uncharacteristic moment, Quasar wishes that they could use torture. Right afterward, one of the Project Pegasus employees lets him know that they have narrowed down the security breaches to one personnel member who scanned into each of the areas within 2 hours of each incident. Each time it was Dr. Thomas Leitner. Finally, Ben voices his suspicions, and Quasar wants to know why he didn't say anything sooner. Ben says with a straight face that he doesn't condemn a man on a hunch. That certainly wasn't the case when he showed up at Project Pegasus for this assignment and attacked Quasar because he thought he was the Crusader. Solar is still walking the halls looking for somebody to help him escape. He passes on Nucleo because he's too stupid, then he runs across a cell dedicated to his old partner in crime, Claw. The two of them had previously faced off against the Avengers together, but it was never explained how the two of them came to be teamed up. The authors of that story didn't know either and asked the fans to write in their own explanation with the promise of a no prize for the winner. At least one explanation was later published, but the no prize was never given out. Additionally, the storyline marks a change in the direction for Claw's character. To my knowledge, all of his previous appearances are tied in with the Black Panther. This story pushes Claw into a larger section of the Marvel Universe. Solar blasts open the door and is shocked to find Claw's prosthetic device, but no Claw. In frustration, he hurls the device across the room, which bounces off the wall with a nice dong. As the device rolls to a rest, it begins to hum. Slowly, the form of a man begins to take shape out of the device, the sound gradually taking form. Solar rushes over to make certain that the Claw is all right, in what might be the only moment of sympathy he's ever shown in the pages of Marvel. Solar then explains that they are at a government research facility, and the two of them walk off together attempting to escape. We catch up with our heroes coming out of Dr. Leitner's living quarters. They can't seem to find him anywhere. As they plan their next move, Quasar receives a report of a power outage in the compound and of unauthorized personnel on the loop car, which is Project Pegasus' rail system. Quasar assumes that it must be Dr. Leitner trying to escape and takes off after him. While Quasar chases after the escapees, Dr. Leitner is preparing to use the nth projector. We finally learn what the endgame is for this little charade. Dr. Leitner is planning to use the nth projector to send Project Pegasus to another dimension, but first he plans on using its power to turn him back into Black Sun. As he flips the switch on the nth projector, something goes horribly wrong, and Leitner screams about how it wasn't supposed to be like this. Solar and Claw are using the loop rail as an escape route. Quasar steps in and stops the rail car with a force field. Quasar is finally starting to think about containment before aggression, but he's shocked to find out that the car doesn't contain Leitner. Quasar then falls for one of the oldest tricks in the book. Solar releases a blinding flash of light. This is wonderfully ironic, since the version of energy bands that were a much weaker versions of Quasar's quantum bands and worn by the original Marvel Boy were only capable of emitting a blinding flash of light and nothing else. Ben and Giant Man catch up, and the three of them take after Solar and Claw on the next train. Solar and Claw see that they are being pursued, so Solar shoots out a blast that blows a hole into the tracks. Even though he can't see, Quasar concentrates on making a shield around the rail car. The car goes flying off the tracks, and Solar looks back, convinced that he's seen the last of them. Ben lifts the car off of everybody and gives Quasar credit for nobody being seriously hurt. Strangely, Quasar once again makes a religious reference. Giant Man offers to run ahead and catch up with the two villains, but before he can act, Ben picks up both sides of the track and uses the rail like whips to create a wave effect going up the line. This had to do so much damage. Remember that Giant Man has already beaten up at least 3 people over the course of this series for damaging government property. It seems that once again, Ben Grimm gets a pass in the personal responsibility category. The Thing's idea works, and Solar and Claw are both flung out of the vehicle. Quasar's vision hasn't come back all the way, but he rushes ahead, zeroing in on their energy signatures. Solar tries to blast Quasar, but this time Quasar is prepared to absorb the blast. Quasar takes it up a notch and shows that he can do more than absorb Solar's blast, and Quasar begins to siphon off Solar's remaining energy. Meanwhile, Wundarr walks up to the room containing the cosmic cube. The guards want to stop him, but don't know how. Bullets bounce right off of him, and neither one of them can use anything to physically restrain Wundarr because everything loses power around him. As Wundarr enters the room, the cube lies lifeless, but as Wundarr approaches, the cube begins to glow from within. At the loop, our heroes haven't gotten out of the fire yet. Claw blasts Quasar, taking him out of the fight. The Thing and Giant Man attempt to save him, but the Claw puts up a solid sound barrier. Giant Man attempts to beat his way through, but the Thing has another idea. Instead of making noise, the Thing suggests slowly and silently pushing through the field, exerting tons of pressure on a single point until the barrier collapses. The Thing gets one good punch in on Claw before the Claw begins redirecting his blows back towards him. While the Claw has his attention focused on Ben, Giant Man grabs the crushed rail car and hurls it at Claw. This finally puts Claw down. The heroes take a breather and try to figure out how these two fit into Leitner's plan. The sound of their speech is absorbed through Claw's prosthetic hand. He releases the pent-up energy in a single destructive blast. With all of our heroes down for the count, Claw decides the time is nigh for him to get his revenge on the Thing for past interference. A single burst of concentrated sound will turn Ben's brain to mush. Pick up the next issue and tune in for the next episode as I cover the exciting final chapter of the Project Pegasus saga. Feel free to hit the buttons below. I'm out.